Hey guys, it's Chris, and I guess we're going to be having another discussion type video. You all seem to enjoy the last one, and I got other stuff I want to talk about. So I guess we're going to be doing this again. And I'm going to be talking about something that I've been thinking about quite a lot recently, and something that I think would be useful for everyone to hear, or at least everyone who wants to listen to hear. And I kind of touched on it a little bit, I guess, in the last one, but work and just I guess work in general, things you know, in my opinion, to help you. And one of the more important things, know when to quit a job and find another one. You know, I feel like that is something that everybody, and I mean everybody, overlooks. I did it for the longest time, and it led to a major setback in my career. That I'm luckily being able to play very fast catch-up currently, but still, I could be much farther if I had just known when to leave and when to find a better place to go. So I guess that's it's gonna be a little bit of what I talk about today, but yeah, I mean, first off, I guess work. If you want to be successful in anything you do, you gotta have a work ethic, and I think that's one of the most important things that a lot of people don't really have. They don't really have a work ethic. I know when it comes to YouTube personally, I am a little lacking work ethic wise. I mean, maybe not lacking in that. I still constantly try and do stuff. Maybe just I think I lack in the executing and not losing myself in trying to be a perfectionist before I just end up canceling the video I wanted to do. Now, in my actual job, my in real life job, I have a very strong work ethic. I show up early. I do everything. I want to learn everything. I want to do everything because I want to be the person that can just do everything. You know, you have a question, I want to be able to do that, and I want to be able to show up and do my best even on days that I am not loving it. And I guess that's a work ethic, you could say, but I think the most simplest form of work ethic is just show up and do your job. You know, not a lot of people do that. Not everybody does that. And just do it to the best of your ability, even on days you don't want to do it, even if you work at McDonald's. Because I am tired of sitting there for 15 minutes waiting on a burger, and then that burger is missing stuff on it. So if you work at McDonald's, fix it. Fix your work ethic. Please and thank you. But yeah, I think that's a very important thing that we all need as a society, as a person. I think it makes you a better person if you have a work ethic, because you can apply it to everything besides work. You can apply it to I don't know, hobbies, gaming, friendships, relationships. I don't know, things like that. You can apply it to anything. So I guess if you are trying to get a job, or if you keep losing jobs, maybe that's one thing you need to look at. Work ethic. And if you are interviewing, just learn how to present yourself. It goes a long way, because I see a lot of people who are terrible workers with no experience. They get jobs, but that's just because they presented themselves well on paper in an interview, which doesn't always translate to in-person skills. So, I mean, if you're lacking in that department, maybe just, I don't know, take a few courses, talk to yourself in the mirror, figure out how to present yourself to a company. If you're lacking in a job, and if you are losing jobs, look at your work ethic, because if you're showing up 20 minutes late every day, then clearly you're the problem in most aspects. But I guess that's that short, sweet little thing right there. But let's talk about more of what is really on my mind when it comes to work, and that's knowing when to quit a job that isn't good for you, isn't good for your career. Because if you work at a job that's not letting you progress, not letting you do better if you want to, whether you do or not, then of course you're gonna be set back, and you're going to be doing the same thing until you're 40, and there's always more time until there isn't. I think that's a very important thing that a lot of people forget because we're always like, oh, well, I'm 20, 25 now, and I don't want to be a manager yet. That's, well, I'll wait till I'm 30 or something like that. But then by the time you're 30, you want to be higher up, but you waited so long to be a manager when you could have, and so now you're just waiting. You're waiting longer to do something that benefits you, and by the time you're 40, you're just a team lead still or something like that. Now, don't get me wrong, you can always fast track. I've seen a lot of people who show up and within 2 or 3 months they're a manager or something like that just from starting, but that's not always the case, and not always jobs will do that. They won't always wait around for somebody to come back around and promote when they want to promote. They're going to find that person that works really well, and they're going to promote them and keep them around because they want it. They want to do that. And if you don't want it, then they're not going to let you. So, like I said earlier, there's always more time until there isn't. Find a job now. Find a job now you like that you can stick with for 20 years and you can retire with, because nobody truly wants to work at a job that they're just going to be sitting there every day doing something they hate for 20 years. No, you want to do something you at least enjoy, at least a little bit. And if you are going to do a job you hate, it better pay you enough that you can do stuff that you enjoy enough to where it makes it worth it. But not everyone gets that luxury. So my word of advice: find a job you like. I stuck with a job for over a year that set my career back a lot, and it's not from anything I did per se. I made the wrong person mad. I made someone with a very bad ego mad, and that cost me promotions, and that cost me raises and other things like that. And the fact that I was a part of leadership but wasn't getting paid to be a part of leadership, nor all the jobs I was doing, which is different if you're like, I don't know, 16-year-old working at McDonald's. Should you be paid more if you're doing 6 people's jobs? Yeah, but if you're, say, someone doing operational jobs for a place, you should be getting paid money for operations, not money for making fries. It's one of those things. If you're making fries, you get paid making fry money. If you're doing operations, you should be getting paid operation money. And if you're not, you should probably leave, or at least ask for a raise, because sometimes they forget, which is honestly a thing, because the people who are in charge of raises half the time don't know who is getting promoted or who's getting promised raises. That's actually a problem that a lot of businesses suffer from. Surprising, which is kind of concerning. I feel like there should be more communication, you could say, between them. But it's like I'm at a job that I feel like I get fairly compensated for, especially because they're letting me play catch up with my over a year's worth of setbacks and stuff like that. So I'm extremely grateful for my current job for that. But I could have probably been in a better place if I had just known when to leave. I pretty much knew 6 months before I left that I wasn't going to go anywhere anymore because I made the wrong person mad, and they were completely in charge, and there was no case of me just having to work extra hard to get something that other people would have just gotten because they played nice. It was one of those, I could work as hard as I wanted, but because I made this person mad one time, it was over for me there. So maybe that should have definitely been the sign that should have just dipped, but I didn't, and I stayed, and that sent me back quite a lot. So if you're experiencing something like that, you made the wrong person mad, and it's very obvious that if you work super hard and you're not going to get any promotions, you're not going to get recognized, you'll get more work, but you won't get recognized or fairly compensated for that, then you should probably leave or talk to HR. Sometimes that person's in HR, so then maybe you should just leave, find another company. Now, don't just abandon ship without a backup plan. try and find a backup plan, especially if you're not in high school or not in college and getting money to help support you. If you're paying your own bills, definitely get a backup plan. And I feel like that's one of the hardest things for people is they'll get stuck in jobs because they can't get a backup plan because it's too hard, or some jobs want you to start immediately, but you want to do the right thing and give a 2 weeks notice, even though there's a lot of states that are uh, employment at will states where you can leave at any time without no notice, and they can fire you at any time without a notice or reason. There's a lot of states like that, um, which is always something to look out for. I guess if you don't know what state you live in, or if you don't know what your state is, like if it's an at will employment, maybe you should look into that a little bit, because it's always important to know what uh, you're at risk at. So that's something I would say that's very important to know. But yeah, so if you feel like you can't go anywhere, nor do you want to go anywhere in a company, you should probably find a place to go that just at least is nicer to you. Try and find a place that you want to go. And I know not everyone has the ability to go and see or see has the ability to work the job they want, because some jobs require a bachelor's degree even if they don't need it. But I'm a strong believer that we can always find a way to do it. um, if you want a college degree, there's military, which is a thing. Not everyone's cut out for it, obviously not everybody wants to do it, but hey, it's a way to get your college paid for, and you don't have to do a combat job or anything. You can always be a cook or anything like that. Serve your 4 years and get your 4 years of college. You can always do that if you're not financially in a position to do that. It'll help you pay for your college, and it'll give you a job at least. Uh, Save up if you don't want to work during college. Or you can always do reserves or something like that. You can always do scholarships. There's a ton of jobs I found out that offer scholarships to employees who stay like for over a year. It's not a full ride scholarship or anything, but half the time it helps with books and maybe a little bit of tuition. So you can always look at that. There's a lot of random companies that do that. So you can look into that if you're, I don't know, trying to go to college after many years, or you just want to go to college after high school, but you really don't know how to pay for it. You can always do that. There's a lot of cobblestone in this chest. I'm taking that pork chop. But that's the thing you can always think about is if you don't have anyone paying, it for you, and you don't think you're going to be able to save up for it, because it is a lot of money, especially nowadays. College is a lot of money, living is a lot of money, and if you don't have a way to save up for it, that's reasonable. That's going to not take you 20 years to be able to pay for it. Then you can always find another way. It's one of those things. You might not like the way to do it. You might not want to join the military, but it's an option. It's you got to keep your options open, I would say. But also, I do think there's plenty of jobs that if you just give it a lot of your experience, you can always move up without a college degree. From where I'm at, if I wanted to keep promoting, would a college degree help and help open doors? Yes, but I don't need it. Do I have to work a little bit harder? Sure, but not everyone's made for school. I'm smart. I could probably do college and be just fine, but I'm not the biggest fan of school. I was for a little bit, but I'm not always. But just because I'm not a big fan of school doesn't mean I don't want to work. Doesn't mean don't want more knowledge. I want to learn more stuff. I'm not really a school person. That's not my thing. It hasn't always been my thing. It was at one point. Now it's not. But you can still learn skills without it. You can learn how to order supplies and inventory, and you can learn how to use Microsoft Excel and stuff like that without a college degree. There's a lot of jobs that's all you do is you just use those. But they want you to have a college degree, and you can always, learn those skills from somewhere else and then try and go that way. You can always find a company that maybe doesn't pay you enough, but you can always use it as a tool to get the job you want. You might not want to you might want to be a scheduler for some big company, but they might want you to go to college or something like that to be able to do schedule. Well, you can also just, you know, you can find a fast food place, work your way up to becoming their scheduler, get lucky, I guess, because they always have somebody, and then you can just do schedule for them. Well, you can say you were a scheduler for this company and you scheduled this many people and how long you did it. And it'll put you in the conversation, you know, instead of just being like, well, this person doesn't have experience, this person doesn't have a college degree or anything for it. At least you're still in the conversation, no? So we just hit day 200. That's it's very exciting, but you know, at least it'll put you in the conversation. So I think that's something we all need to think about too. Is if we don't want to go to college, if we want to go the other route, how can we get ourselves into these conversations? You know, how can we find our way into the discussion for these jobs? You know, I think that is one of the most important things that we do all skip out on. It's something that I skipped out on a lot. You know, it's like I was a manager at one point, but I wanted to do something else, you know, and so I was like, well, as a manager, I don't do that, but I could do that. And so I worked with people to be able to do stuff that applied to the position I wanted to do. I did that. And so whenever I was able to apply, it put me in the conversation because, yeah, I was, say, just a manager, but it was a lot better because I at least had some of the experience that was required instead of no experience, which isn't always easy, not what everyone's able to do, but you know, it's a way to do it. I feel like I lost track of what I was on about, but yeah, needless to say, if you are at a job that isn't going to treat you right and isn't going to be the job that you see yourself doing in 20 years, find another job. Find it. Stay there until you can find another job. Find the job that's going to treat you better and that's going to set you on the path to what you want to do for 20 years and what you want to do till you retire. You know, stuff like that. Don't just sit somewhere because it pays the bills. I feel like we can always do better as individuals and as a society, and we need to know that for ourselves. So hopefully this talk about work and how to view it, how to know when to quit, even though I feel like I got very sidetracked, hopefully it helped you, and hopefully it helps you with your future endeavors, current situations, future situations, and things like that. But I guess I'll let you all get back to your regular viewing of whatever you're doing today. I'm gonna go work on a paradox craft so I can give you all something that isn't just me rambling for 20 minutes. So goodbye.